Hello, this is Dr. Marty Klein with more Sexual Intelligence. Today I'd like to talk about social media, 5 ways that social media undermines your sex life. Now, you might suppose that with the enormous amount of information now available, anyone can create a great sex life. But despite today's data wonderland, the number of people who are sexually frustrated, disappointed, confused, or anxious hasn't declined. In fact, young people today have less sex than young people did 20, 30, or 40 years ago. And today there are millions of low sex or no sex marriages. From young to midlife to old, why are so many people still sexually dissatisfied? Well, there are multiple reasons, of course. People select an incompatible partner. People have non-sexual feelings like guilt or anger or shame or fear. People believe that sex and desire are dangerous. People have mistaken assumptions about men and women and sexuality. People are unclear about how to communicate about sex. People think that their desires or their fantasies are perverse. People think they have a dysfunction, which they and their physician are trying to fix using the exact wrong approach. And, of course, confusing or painful first experiences also play a key role in lifelong sexual alienation, especially among women. And there's even more to the subject than that today, because in addition to all those other reasons, now there's social media. 87% of Americans use social media daily. That's more than the number of Americans who drive a car every day. So, how does social media undermine sexual pleasure and closeness? Let us count the ways. 1. The loss of human cues during communication. Every minute communicating digitally is a minute not spent hearing the actual voice of another person, with all of its subtle moment-by-moment changes and reactions to what you say or do. Similarly, it's a minute spent not conveying emotion with your own voice. And it's a minute spent not talking with someone face to face, unconsciously smelling them and perceiving their body language in a restaurant or car or office or kitchen or bedroom. To create sex that's relaxed and intimate, people need a wide range of subtle communication skills. What words make someone's face light up? What tone of voice brings someone closer? And what pushes them away? Most of us used to start learning these skills in childhood and young adulthood. But texting friends or posting photos of your lunch teaches you very little about how to relate to actual humans, especially regarding sex and bodies. Number 2, research. And you notice the quotes there. Many people think that they're doing research about sexual issues by going to non-experts' websites. But social media has democratized opinion, not expertise. If someone has 50,000 followers or is an influencer, does this qualify them to have an opinion on, say, hormone replacement therapy, or on the mental health of transgender people, or whether someone should stay or leave a relationship after infidelity? No. But people are now depending on these completely unvetted and unreliable sources in a wide range of sexual settings, making decisions about what's normal, making medical choices about reproductive, hormonal, and psychological issues, choosing how to respond to sexual situations involving conflict, anger management, power dynamics, gender politics, and reasonable relationship expectations. Depending on ignorant strangers for advice on important life issues is a recipe for disaster, and social media is built to convince people to value the opinions and displays of others. Number 3, the fad machine. Fueled by social media, fads have overtaken many aspects of sexuality, where pleasure isn't as much the point of sex as it used to be. Men are choking women during sex. People say they're into kink or poly without knowing much about them, and then dealing with predictable problems. People are adapting idiosyncratic sexual identities that have no actual definition. People now say they identify as this or that identity, much as people say I'm a Dodgers fan or I root for any team playing against Notre Dame. And yes, pornography has something to do with this fad orientation too. Number 4, the velocity of narratives. On social media, lies and false narratives spread faster and wider than at any other time in human history. False truths, such as how frequently trans kids kill themselves, or how common campus rape is, or how many women climax from intercourse, or how infidelity is always traumatic for the victim, especially if a man has cheated on a woman, or how every woman wants to be choked during sex. Ideas like these are almost impossible to get out of the culture's consciousness once established by social media. To get through a typical day, every one of us needs hundreds of assumptions, big and small. That's especially true regarding sex, which for most people involves some anxiety and some self-consciousness. The sexual narratives spewing from social media, whether from our friends or non-expert influencers, have a huge impact on our sexual choices and subjective experience. And finally, number 5, the rage machine. Social media is especially adept at fomenting anger and creating profound enmity out of simple disagreements or even misunderstandings. Today, people are urged to be offended instead of disagreeing, and once offended, to destroy their opponents rather than debate them. Today, there are legitimate social questions involving a range of sexual subjects, like sexual identity, sexual orientation, medical procedures, reproductive choices, various relationship styles, and definitions of concepts such as consent, kink, intimacy, feminism, agency, codependence, masculinity, pleasure. But political correctness and rage are preventing what could be valuable and innovative conversations about these important and ultimately very practical sexual topics. It's hard to just relax and enjoy sex, and impossible to have friendly disagreements when trust looks like a foolish mistake. So does this mean that you can't have good sex if you're on social media? Does this mean that you have to quit social media to have good sex? The answer to both questions is no, but anyone who wants to do both, enjoy sex and enjoy social media, should understand how social media participation can undermine sexuality and how to take appropriate steps to protect one from the other. I'm Dr. Marty Klein. Thanks for joining me. You know, I drop one of these little YouTube videos every few weeks, so do me a favor, click subscribe, click like, and by the way, you can also find me on Instagram. Lots of sexual intelligence on my Instagram feed, as well as going to my YouTube channel. So I'm Dr. Marty Klein. Thank you for joining me on Sexual Intelligence.